G'day everybody, welcome back to the Friday Front Bar on a Thursday again, thanks to the magnificent bye weekend.
So explain to me again how that works.
The bye weekend, I've got no idea how it works, but it's a bye weekend. We're here on a Thursday thanks to Brewery Fresh Carlton Draft at the Mighty All Nations Hotel.
So was this beer poured on a Thursday or Friday? I need to know. Is it Brewery Fresh?
I know you're trying to deflect at the moment, but
What?
Sam, to the Blue Baggers.
Cheers, Andrew. Cheers.
And the Mighty Tigers, you
Enjoy
build them
that.
up and they fall over.
Congratulations, Richmond. 70,000 members. It's a great win, and Rance re-signing. Nothing but good news.
Glad we're not living in the past, Mickey. We are talking about Carlton's big win, our first win since round 4 in New Zealand.
Correct.
And I've got to be honest, Carlton this year, the country of Australia has been a bit of a hoodoo country. And so it was great to get a win. And I'm just warning you, it happened on Saturday afternoon, and I haven't been home.
Of course, there was some...
There was an unsavoury incident
Well-
that marred this game, and it's this outrageous tackle by Bryce Gibbs. I mean, outrageous in that it's the only one. He's actually executed in about 5 years that
Now,
I can remember.
I just-
And I'd have to say, that most occasion, Robbie Gray being knocked out is the first time in AFL history any player's been knocked out by a player with a man bun. And I think that's a cheers, man. In fact, if Robbie Gray had a man bun, it would have broken his form. You know what I mean? It would have been play on.
Can I just
If
say
he'd
one
had a
thing?
man bun.
I know one thing about Bryce Gibbs. Last year, there were only 31 players in the AFL who laid more tackles than Bryce Gibbs last year. So this whole notion that Bryce Gibbs is this kind of
Tackle or
nice,
cuddle?
quiet...
Is it a cuddle?
No,
I think it might be a cuddle.
Only 31 blokes last year laid more tackles than Gibbs in the AFL. So,
Or did you see Cassisi's text message?
Yeah,
I
for-
think that was a one
Tweet.
that's... Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a telegram. You know I'm not up on the modern. What did I say?
You said it came by a carrier pigeon. That up there is called a tweet, Vicky, and that's what Dom Cassisi said. He said it's only taken 8 years for Gibbs to lay a tackle. Well done.
Tweet, text. I'm just happy that Bootsma didn't get involved. There's a variation on the man bun that I don't actually appreciate.
Well, here's the Dom Cassisi, first time in his career he's hit a target. Well, you
Now, can I ask you, Andy, what is the player code? He's not even a player. Why can't a former player send a tweet? Why can't a former player send a tweet that's having a go at a current player? What does the code mean? Have you joined some kind of secret society? Or
No, well, once
what
you're
is
in the brotherhood, you're in the brotherhood, and you're supposed to kind of look after one another. I think it's a bit silly.
As soon as you finish playing, though, it seems as though everything's up for grabs. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah,
for
well, that is
instance.
true.
Because if you are in the media as an ex-player, you have to say...
You'd be honest.
You have to be honest, like Mark Rashuto.
I reckon he's in trouble, Bryce Gibbs. We all know when you play footy, if you can hurt your opposition player, you do it. We don't want that in the game, and that's why they brought that rule in.
Ordinarily, I would dismiss a comment like that, but it's Mark Rashuto, and no one protected the head more in their career than Mark Rashuto. I give you that example. See,
And we can't even show the footage from the Ramsgate Hotel either. By the way. So,
look, we all agree, protect the head.
yes,
It was sadness, but congratulations, Bryce. You laid a tackle.
Well, here raises another interesting question.
Well,
Bryce
we'll be
Gibbs-
the judge of that.
Bryce Gibbs lays a tackle, albeit a bit too vigorous, and gets 2 weeks.
Yep.
Hawthorn are throwing sneaky little cut lunches all over the place against the Crows, and this adds up to about $3,000 in the AFL
There's
Consolidated
Corky,
Revenue
Jordan
Fund.
Lewis.
Bang.
There's punches being thrown everywhere here.
They're just,
You know what's amazing?
Elbows in the guts.
How hard is it to look tough throwing a punch in that jumper? It does seem to be some sort of, a vibe. For instance, if you get if you get 2 weeks for tackling, you get no weeks for punching. And if you push an umpire, you get Brownlow votes at the moment. You know that, don't you? So that's what happened to Will Minson. So it's like it doesn't seem to be. There seems to be a disconnect there at the moment.
Speaking of the Hawks, great insight into their preparation for a game of footy.
What?
Did you see the Josh Gibson stuff
No,
with
I
Adam
didn't.
Uze before the game?
No,
this,
I didn't.
This is great.
Stay involved. See he starts here.
Yeah.
Get goal side. Push hard. But that's gold.
There's the kid again.
Sweet, mate. Epic.
Epic.
Epic's the name of the last nightclub he was in. Too. He loved them.
It's a good catchphrase, though.
Epic.
What do you think of Andy's cap?
Epic.
Epic.
But I'll tell you what, there was nothing soft about the one-on-one had between Paddy Dangerfield.
Yeah, I saw this. What was all this about? Because at that stage, he was the best player on the ground, at least for Adelaide.
Arguable.
He was. Well, he was. He's copping a spray. He's had about 32 touches here.
Scott Camporelli going with a very unique tactic to try to get him to stay at Adelaide. It's an interesting strategy. But back in the old days, you know, I mean, it was a bit simpler. It was a simpler time. And when a coach gave a message, it was very clear.
Hello? Healy off, Ellingworth on. Bloody weak as piss.
You know, that reminds me of an ex-girlfriend.
Do you know he used to work in a call centre too?
It'd be remiss of us this week not to pay tribute to Todd
Can I just say
Johnston.
something?
Yeah, go on.
This beer is epic!
It is
Well,
epic.
speaking of epic, I mean, Todd Goldstein's performance was truly that, was it not?
One for the ages.
It seems
One of
like
the greats. What record did he break?
Are you talking
most
about?
number of hit-outs in a game of footy, and there are a whole lot of them to advantage, but he was in phenomenal form.
It
against
was.
the
I don't want to play you this magical moment. First time ever in AFL history, and I think you'll agree the crowd embraced it.
This is to break the record. He has equalled the record now of Sandilands.
What an exciting moment in football, Jono.
This is huge for Goldstein.
Can he do it? Big Todd.
He's got the hit out to advantage.
I mean, you don't see scenes like that every day.
Look at that. Look at that young man.
Give Goldstein some space, everyone.
That's a fantastic achievement. It's like every
it
week
is.
goes by now, we get a new record in the hit-out
It's hard to
stage.
know where it ranks.
Well, in fact, Barry Hall, I mean, he spoke to the boys after the game, and he was effusive in his praise of exactly where this stands.
And Toddy, there's some great awards in AFL footy. There's a Coleman medal, there's a Brownlow medal, and there's also the most hit-outs ever recorded. And you got that today.
So that's official. That's where it is. It's third. You know, the best thing about that interview, so if we could see it again, was that Drew Petrie and Todd Goldstein, those injuries were sustained during that interview.
They were perfectly fine with that interview.
It's the only sideline interview in the history of the game that has been put to the match review panel.
Yeah, speaking of great milestones,
Another
on the weekend.
magical moment,
Oh,
one
yes,
that
it
Geelong
was.
fans will never forget. Gee,
Oh,
they
what?
embraced it.
Oh, just, Corey Enright, of course, you're talking about, played his 300th on the weekend. Melbourne kick a goal with 5 minutes to go. Have a look, they couldn't wait to get out of the joint, half of these Geelong supporters.
300th game, he's a club champion, he's All-Australian. Admittedly, they didn't expect Melbourne to win. I mean, the last time Melbourne won at that ground was with a place kick after the siren. So you could understand their disappointment.
By the end, for Corey Enright's 300th game, there were 300 Cat supporters in the ground. I thought it was a beautiful touch.
You know what? It's poor form, though. You don't, no matter what, no matter how tough it is, you don't leave.
You don't leave the ground
You don't leave
early.
before the final siren. None of us have ever
You
left before.
stand there.
Well,
You.
there's some Carlton games this year I've left before they ran through the banner.
You've never left before the
You
siren.
haven't, have you? You're dyed in the wool.
There's one I remember, half time in fact. And well, look, it was a Dreamtime clash against Essendon.
Half time?
Half time. It was a Dreamtime clash against Essendon. We were getting soundly pumped. It was a couple of years ago. It was a night game. I had a party to go to. I went, bugger this. And I left. It was at the MCG, and I left, and I went up to the Hilton to get a cab. And as I jumped in the cab out the front of the Hilton, I shut the door, and the cab driver looked at me and went, I've been expecting you. What?
One of the great traditions was continued, however, with the cheering off of Corey Enright. At least the players stuck around to cheer him off.
Not
which
all
was
of them.
nice.
Where
Not
were
all
the
of
other
them.
players?
Most of them. Most of them
Get
were still
around
there.
him. Good Lord.
And now Melbourne there was a nice touch from Roosie and the Demons here to form the guard of honour as he exited the ground for his 300. It was well done
Not
by
as nice
both.
enough touch as they singing the Melbourne theme song as he was walking off. That probably didn't need to be done, but
Where does it sit in the... It doesn't probably get on the podium for the great chair-offs of all time. There have been some classic, memorable moments in AFL, VFL history. I mean, who can ever forget... You know,
John
Janga.
just fighting off the cheering off. He didn't
It's
want
up
it.
to-
Talking about reluctance.
This didn't end well for Blighty after he kicked the winner against Carlton. He did a knee.
This is my favourite though. Mick Martin being carried off for his 300th game, and I was at that game.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Dennis Pagan was coaching. Mick Martin was carried off by Corey McKernan, and I didn't know if I was at a Carlton game or a North Melbourne Premiership reunion.
Good games of footy starting tonight, of course. Freo taking on Collingwood, Sydney taking on your mob.
I was there last time.
Chocolates?
We beat Sydney in Sydney to make the 8 and to get into that final
That
against
worked well.
Port.
Did you go to the final as well?
Yep, you know what I was?
What?
Epic!
Of course, Hawthorn Essendon. Remember the old famous line in the Sanga? I was there. I was on the boundary that day.
Is Hurdy back from France?
He's
Is he back? Is he going to turn up for this?
He's back for the game.
It'll be interesting to see him address the players. He'll have some new stuff, I reckon. He'll be walking into the wind. pretend he's locked in a glass cabinet. Let's kick into the imaginary 6-goal breeze.
Did Hurdy really go to France?
He went to France.
He did.
He went to France.
Question, is Hurdy the only coach in the AFL that gets paid in euros?
I tell you what, that degree might come in handy next year, the way he's going.
Brisbane taking on Adelaide.
Yes, Brisbane taking on Adelaide, and I know it hurts you and I every time we see Eddie Betts in an Adelaide jersey, but I tell you what, there was Eddie loves his basketball.
He does.
As you can see by this footage here before the game last week. He's just smooth at almost everything he does. A little jump fake and then step back,
silky.
and then, which is nice. Look at that. Luke Brown though, he has a go at it, and
he really should have gone first.
he should have gone first.
That's
I'll defend Luke Brown because Eddie Betts would grow up idolising Paddy Mills. Luke Brown had Phil Smythe.
Gary Ablett back. Carlton taking on the Suns this week at Etihad Stadium on Sunday.
He could have had another week off if he wanted.
Carlton Suns. Someone has to win. That'll be good. Have a look at Carlton coach here. What's his name?
Johnny Barker.
I don't feel I really need to memorise that. Look at these binocs. What do you reckon he's looking at?
Actually, those binoculars are so big, he might be actually looking at Carlton's VFL team in Preston. They are pretty big.
The biggest binoculars.
Maybe they're normal size and he's 2'6". Have you thought about that?
It's an interesting theory.
Oh, that's it for another show, boys. Well done to the pair of you. We'll be back same time next week to do it all again.
Did you forget our names or something?
Same time next week.
Good. Well done, young fellas.
Righto, from thanks to the Brewery Fresh Carlton.